recording it. And I'm going welcome to the first Schoolgate seminar. Today we're going to be introducing you to the project and giving you an insight into our vision and what we're hoping to achieve. My name's Jan Peters, and I started a similar project called Science Sisters around 8 years ago down here in Christchurch in Dorset. I'm really thrilled to be working with Kate Bellingham and taking Science Sisters concept to a much broader audience all across the UK, engaging science and engineering parents in supporting the schools that their children are at through hands-on activities, organisation and planning. So Kate, tell us a little bit about why you got engaged and what sparked your interest.
Hi Jan, lovely to talk to you. I have to say it looks a lot sunnier in Christchurch than it does up here in Hertfordshire. It looks lovely and sunny where you are. I'm Kate Bellingham. I've set up the Schoolgate set. The idea is to create a community of parents so that we have mutual support when we're working in our children's primary schools supporting this STEM. It is volunteering. We gave today the title of sort of making the most of engineered mums beyond listening to readers, and really that's where my story started. Is that I went in and I started listening to readers. How did it all start for you, Jan?
Well, I was happily reading in my daughter's infant school in reception, and by year one I was thinking I've got so much more I could take to them. There weren't any science qualified teaching teachers on the staff or even on the support staff, and I just could see a huge gap in how I could help support them. I had the time, I was working part-time at the time. I'd been doing outreach ever since I did my PhD down in Southampton. Just passionate about science and frustrated seeing this gap. So I kept asking how could I help, and I was met with a little bit of fear and trepidation, and money seemed to be a big issue. So I said, great, there's a really great funding scheme from the Royal Society. Let's apply for some money. Money is not an object. I don't see problems. So I started trying to get ideas of what they wanted. And in particular, there's a teacher who said, well, maybe we don't want to do that. Maybe we don't want to do this. So I drafted a proposal, and it didn't really meet with an overwhelming enthusiasm. I was really frustrated. So then the sort of science coordinator came on board, and she said, yeah, okay, we could do an outside science classroom like that. And we bid for the money, we won the money, and it was brilliant. And they transformed what they were doing in the school, and they created environment assistants from 2 of the teaching assistants, and every child did science outdoor learning through exploring through the bird hide, through growing things, through the great garden. And these 2 teaching assistants were amazing. But I wanted a shiny piece of equipment. So I had another scientist that joined me. We wanted to put a webcam to look at the bird box before they were widely available. And the teacher said, what happens when you're not there? And I said, well, I've got 2 kids. There's lots of science and engineers around here. It's not difficult to press reset. But no, she bought the $39.99 plastic weather station from the Early Learning Centre. I was gutted, really, really gutted. And every morning I stood in the playground and saw the plastic Early Learning Centre weather station lying on the ground. Mortified. So I went away with my tail between my legs, feeling I'd done something, but I still didn't feel like I'd achieved what I thought I could achieve, and I was still reading. So I came back with another thought, and I spoke to another couple of parents that I'd met through the nursery, through parties, discovered that we all had science backgrounds. We all wanted to do more than reading, but we didn't know what. So I was a STEM ambassador, going into schools as I'm doing career stuff, and I put a proposal together to what was the UK Resource Centre for Women in Science to help qualify us and get us some training in doing outreach and practice, to be the person who could help the science coordinator wade through those emails so we could book speakers to come in and arrange science activities. So we ran that, and I'm still a STEM ambassador today. Karen Dickens, who's going to be working with Schoolgate Set, is still engaged as well, and she was one of the very first Science Sisters. So we've done tons of stuff over the years. We created a community, and I think it's really great to connect and be involved in helping to take this and grow it. So lots of learning to share with everybody, and hopefully grow the programme.
It sounds really exciting. My story is a slightly different story. I was there listening to readers, and you know how it is that you listen to readers, and there could be another lesson that was going on, and there was maths going on, and I thought, actually, I'd be much better off helping with maths. That's something I could do, and so I said, can I help with maths instead? And the response was, oh, parents don't normally help with maths. You know, maths is taught in a different way from what it was when we were at school, etc., etc. And so I had to be that slightly pushy parent and say, but can I sit in on the lessons and I'll learn how to do it? And then I did help with it, and I moved from being listening to readers to helping with maths. And the thing for me is that my background was, I'd taken a master's in electronic communication systems, and I just sort of felt I've got something a little bit more to give, but it wasn't going to be directly to do with what I had recently studied. I'd done that as a mature student. So I was sort of trying to explore what I thought was of value to them. In fact, I then, as a result of that, they said, oh, you're good at this, you should be a teacher. I was working part-time at the time, and I thought, actually, maybe I'll go and... so I volunteered at the secondary school in maths, ended up training, doing the GTP on-the-job training as a maths teacher, qualified in maths. I've also taught physics. But further down the line, I came back to the school and I said, look, I've heard about all these science clubs and STEM clubs. Can I set up and run a STEM club for you? And again, I sort of thought they'd come to me with open arms and say, oh, that'll be wonderful, come and do it. But actually, I needed to have that understanding. It had to fit in with the way the school worked and the time that they'd got available. And even though I was a STEM ambassador and I'd got my DBS as it is now, they still needed to have a member of staff who was there while the year 5 and 6 were there after school. There was also the challenge that the only time they could run it was the same time the Zumba classes were going on. So there was this sort of competition in terms of the sound. There was competition in terms of which room was available, you know, all this kind of thing. And I got someone in to help, a young a mechanical engineer who lived locally, who was able to go to work early, work through lunch, and then come and help in the school. He had no connection with the school, except he was wanting to get his chartered engineer status. And, oh, the kids loved him. So we were a bit of a double act because I was Emily's mum and he was cool Phil. But we got a good number of youngsters coming along. But I felt very isolated. I felt... somebody must have done this before, and I was out there looking for people to give me advice. And you know, obviously I knew about Science Sisters, but that had been a bit earlier, and also there it was in Dorset, and I was in Hertfordshire. And so more recently, I've thought, wouldn't it be great if we could find a way of connecting people and supporting people? And actually, what I didn't mention is that we've now got some funding from the Royal Academy of Engineering, from their Ingenious project, to specifically target parents who've got an engineering or technology background, it coming from the Royal Academy of Engineering, to support them in their communication skills. But in the meantime, obviously, it'll be supporting the school. So, and Jan, you've got ideas from your work with Science Sisters about how we can use that money and how we can support these parents, haven't you?
Yeah, one of the amazing things that came out of Science Sisters, quite a few of the mums had moved away from working in science, working in laboratories, technology. Some people had dropped out of studying after A-levels and had gone to work in a lab. Some people had completely moved away from science, but they'd really loved doing science and remembered they had a passion for it. But what was the amazing thing that happened with my Science Sisters group, and there are a group of about 15 of us, people came back to science, came into Science Sisters, ran activities. One of the mums hadn't been working and found that she was terrified, sat in a chair in front of a class, introduced them to structures and buildings, and we made a London Eye and we made it spin with year 2, and she was amazing, absolutely amazing. On the back of that, she was offered a role as a teaching assistant, and they paid for her to get her qualifications, and she's now a teacher. Others decided they needed to go back to college. Someone went and did a master's in science communication. Somebody went back to do a biology degree. really amazing, and the confidence that people gained from participating and being able to lead an activity, knowing that they were able to do it. But we ended up working in pairs, going to each other's children's schools, doing things. So one of the other things that I've been doing in the intervening years is working with engineering departments in universities and looking at team working. And I became a Gallup strengths coach, and I've seen amazing transformation in people in their self-awareness, but the growth in confidence. So as well as bringing our knowledge of science activities and running training workshops, we're going to be working with these sort of Schoolgate set people to give them access to the Strengths Finder tools so they can get their own personal profile. And we're going to be running, as well as introducing them on the training workshops face-to-face, we're going to be through the Facebook group running some webinars and discussion groups to help people transition themselves. I say this from mum to me, but if there are dads out there that are taking part, they're really just as welcome. And once you step away from work, you do lose confidence, and lots of different ways that you can regain that. So we're going to be running some webinar discussion groups with people so they can share their hopes and their fears and help them to reshape their CV. Maybe they go back into teaching, maybe they just become a more confident parent. Loads and loads of different ways. And we're going to be working from down here in Dorset and on the Hampshire border with you guys up in Hertfordshire as well. And how are you finding, I can tell you a little bit more about how we're finding parents around here. How are you finding the parents in your area, Kate?
Well, we've two main routes. One is going through schools and asking schools if they can send out a letter and see if there are any parents who are interested. And the other is it's the word of mouth network, which is fascinating too, because there was somebody I met at a STEM ambassador event, because I've been involved with STEM ambassador work in Hertfordshire here doing the Connects Challenge for primary schools, and somebody mentioned it to somebody else they knew who happens to live just round the corner from me. So last week I went round to hers for coffee and biscuits and met another mum who's also a science background. Well, she's a very definitely actually an engineering technology background, and we were chatting through what the challenges are of thinking you're going to volunteer in a school, and it really reinforced what we're saying about why it's useful to have a community, to have a network. In terms of practicalities, we are recruiting now, aren't we? That's right.
Absolutely. So if you come across this webinar that's on the blog site, then you'll be able to find the links about how to sign up. For those who might have seen it on social media, you can sign up at schoolgateset.blogspot.co.uk, and I hope that's right.
Just Google Schoolgate Set, you'll find us.
Google Schoolgate Set and sign up today to get the newsletter. And then Helen, who's there in the top of the screen, give us a wave, Helen. Helen's going to be there responding to any inquiries, trying to explain a little bit more to you. What we do want to really reinforce is this is a voluntary activity, and the training is free, provided kindly through amazing funding that we've got through the Royal Academy of Engineering and Genius Fund. So it's a project that we're recruiting right now. We're going to be recruiting for the whole year of this part of the project, and we're going to be running training courses from September in a school near you. If you're in Dorset, Hampshire border, and if you're up in Hertfordshire, we're hoping.
I think we're prepared to go a little bit beyond the borders as well. So if you're Beds or Essex, that's fine.
Yeah, we're not constrained by physical by imaginary boundaries, because people don't all live and work in the same area, do they, Kate?
And do get in touch with us if you think you might be interested, because we realise people don't fit in very specific boxes of what their background might be, or what their relationship with the child is. One of the people that I met last weekend, actually, she's got a very strong relationship with her nephew, who is currently in primary school, though hers are not yet in primary school. And I'm thinking, actually, what it's about is having that strong relationship with a specific school, which you have when you've got kids or relatives in primary, that secondary, you don't have such a strong relationship relationship. So we're really keen on building that sort of embedded STEM ambassador relationship with the school. And certainly, I mean, Science Sisters implies women, but it's dads just as welcome. The thing that we're really looking for is we're not just wanting to replicate STEM ambassadors. So it's not people who are currently in full-time work relating to their STEM experience. We're looking for people who have come away from that, whether they're on a career break, whether they're out of work. They might be part-time, but not specifically using their STEM skills in the way that they either might want to or that they could. But, you know, we're pretty open here, aren't we? Because we know that everybody's story is different.
Absolutely. And we're really hoping that people will bring their own excitement and ideas of things that they want to do. So we're going to be running training programs. There's resources created by the Bright Club, which is how many engineers does it take to make ice cream. Loads of activities around using a genie board to make activities for the school fair, so that you can throw balls at a wall, and if there's a vibration sense behind it, you can come up with a bit of a code. So that's another example. We make structures using rolled paper, make the London Eye, we make bridges. But there might be a particular expertise that you bring to the party. So you get involved in any way that feels right to you. And it's really about providing an extra bit of support for teachers. Different schools want different things, and I think that we're going to be able to help create another layer of support beyond the school fair and PTA.
And listening to readers and making cupcakes.
You know, we can still listen to reading, but you know what? We could find some science textbooks or some engineering textbooks and maybe introduce Rosie the Riveter into schools. I think, you know, that's all sorts of different ways that we as parents can get involved in supporting schools and increasing that engagement in STEM. So that's really just an introduction to Schoolgate Set, and I hope you found it an interesting overview. We're going to be doing a couple more webinars in the future, and we'll be introducing you to Karen Dickens, who's going to be running some of the training workshops in the near future. So thanks so much for joining us. So it's goodbye from me.
What I'm going to say is the thing to go and do now is to go to the blog site to sign up to get the newsletters, and that will get you in touch with Helen. She'll get back to you and talk about how you can be involved. We've got, as well as the blog site, we've got a Facebook page, we've got a Facebook group that's a closed group that you can join, and we do, of course, have the Twitter feed. So we're encouraging everybody to get in touch, whether you are a potential Schoolgate Set parent, whether you're a school who are interested in the concept, or whether you're an organisation that supports primary science or parents. Just get in touch with us, and we can grow the network and grow the community.
And just as what's the Twitter hashtag or Twitter @ that you should look for?
At Schoolgate Set.
At Schoolgate Set, that's the one. So fantastic. Thanks so much for joining you, and we look forward to connecting with you again soon. Bye.